/pettyrevenge still stole my pregnancy announcement, so I ruined hers. Surprise. We're pregnant. My sister-in-law Maya's voice cut through the birthday party chatter like a knife through my heart. I stood frozen in the kitchen doorway, clutching the custom photo book I'd spent weeks creating, watching as my entire family erupted in cheers around her. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not like this. Just 30 minutes earlier, I'd been in the bathroom doing one final pregnancy test, the fourth one this week, just to see those beautiful double lines again. After 2 years of negative tests, failed fertility treatments, and monthly disappointments that left me sobbing on the bathroom floor, I was finally pregnant. Finally. I planned everything perfectly for my mother-in-law's 60th birthday party. The photo book looked innocent enough from the outside, just family pictures from the past year. But the last page revealed an ultrasound photo with coming March 2024 written in elegant script below it. I'd even coordinated with my husband Jake to have him start recording when I handed it over. But now Maya was basking in the spotlight I dreamed about for so long, her hands dramatically placed on her completely flat stomach while my mother-in-law wept happy tears and Jake's dad started calling his brothers with the news. Maya, honey, when are you due? My mother-in-law asked, still clutching Maya's hands. March. Maya practically sang, and I felt my knees go weak. Not only had she stolen my announcement, but she was claiming almost the exact same due date. I backed further into the kitchen, hoping no one would notice me. The photo book felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds in my hands. Jake appeared beside me, his face a mix of confusion and concern. Babe, what's wrong? Aren't you excited? Our kids will basically be twins, he whispered, wrapping an arm around my waist. I couldn't speak. How could I explain that I'd overheard Maya on the phone yesterday, listening outside the guest room as she pumped Jake's mom for details about the party? How she'd asked weird questions about what special surprises might be planned. I thought she was just being nosy about birthday gifts, not plotting to hijack my moment. Sarah. Come celebrate with us, my brother-in-law Derek called from the living room. Maya just told us we're going to be parents. I plastered on the fakest smile of my life and walked back into the room where Maya was now showing everyone a pregnancy app on her phone, complete with fake symptoms tracker that she'd obviously just downloaded. This is so exciting, I managed to choke out, giving her a stiff hug. Up close, I could see the satisfied smirk she was trying to hide behind her fake tears of joy. I know, right? I'd been dying to tell everyone, but we wanted to make sure it was the perfect moment, she said, her eyes meeting mine with an unmistakable challenge. Sometimes you just have to seize the opportunity when it presents itself. The rest of the party passed in a blur of congratulations that should have been mine, advice about pregnancy that I desperately needed but couldn't ask for, and watching Maya bask in attention while I held my real ultrasound photo hidden in my purse. As we drove home that night, Jake kept talking about how crazy it was that both couples would have babies at the same time, how our kids would grow up together, how excited he was to tell our families about our news next week. But I wasn't thinking about next week. I was thinking about revenge. Because I was about to discover that Maya's pregnancy was as fake as her tears of joy. The next morning, I woke up with a pit in my stomach that had nothing to do with morning sickness. Jake was already in the shower, humming happily, probably thinking about telling his coworkers he was going to be a dad. Meanwhile, I felt like I'd been robbed of one of the most important moments of my life. I made coffee, decough now, I reminded myself bitterly, and scrolled through social media, only to be slapped in the face with Maya's Instagram post, a perfectly staged photo of baby shoes with the caption "Our little miracle is on the way." 2 hearts #blessed #baby on board #March baby. 47 likes already, and it hadn't even been 12 hours. The comments made my blood boil. OMG Maya, you'll be such an amazing mom. So excited for you guys. Didn't see this coming, what a wonderful surprise. Wonderful surprise. Right. My phone buzzed with a text from my own mother. Jake's mom just called me with the exciting news about Maya. When are you and Jake going to give me grandbabies? You're not getting any younger, sweetie. Face blowing a kiss. I actually threw my phone across the kitchen. Jake emerged from the bathroom, tie half nodded, still grinning like an idiot. I was thinking we could take my parents out to dinner this weekend to tell them our news. Maybe that little Italian place Mom loves? Sure, I said flatly, retrieving my phone from where it had skittered under the refrigerator. Thankfully, the screen wasn't cracked. Are you okay? You seem off. How could I explain that I suspected his sister was a lying, manipulative attention seeker without sounding like a jealous psychopath? I'm fine. Just tired. He kissed my forehead. Pregnancy fatigue. Maya was just texting me about how exhausted she's been feeling. She said the morning sickness hit her like a truck yesterday. Maya actually twitched. She was drinking wine at the party. What? Jake paused in the middle of adjusting his tie. Maya. She had 2 glasses of wine. I saw her. This wasn't entirely true, I'd seen her with a wine glass, but I'd been too distracted by my own drama to pay attention to whether she actually drank it. Jake frowned. Maybe it was sparkling cider? Mom always has both. Right. Because Jake always saw the best in everyone, especially his precious baby sister who could do no wrong. It was one of the things I loved about him, but right now it made me want to scream. After he left for work, I did something I'm not proud of. I stalked Maya's social media like a woman possessed. Her Instagram stories from the past few weeks showed her at happy hours, wine tastings, and even a sushi date with Derek just 4 days ago, complete with a photo of her eating what looked very much like raw fish. But that wasn't proof. Lots of women didn't know they were pregnant right away. Then I found the smoking gun in the most unlikely place, Derek's LinkedIn. He posted about a work conference in Chicago that he and Maya had attended together 2 weeks ago, the same conference where Maya was tagged in multiple photos drinking cocktails at networking events. Based on her March due date, she would have been at least 6 or 7 weeks pregnant by then. My hands shook as I screenshotted everything. Maya wasn't just stealing my thunder, she was lying to everyone. But I needed more proof before I could expose her. I needed to catch her in a way that would be undeniable, public, and absolutely devastating. Because if Maya wanted to play games with pregnancy announcements, I was going to make sure she lost spectacularly. I opened a new browser tab and started researching everything I could about fake pregnancies. If I was going to destroy her, I needed to be smart about it. The war had officially begun. Over the next few days, I became a detective obsessed with building my case. Every spare moment was spent gathering evidence of Maya's deception, and the more I dug, the more elaborate her lie became. I started documenting everything. Screenshots of her drinking at events, photos of her at hot yoga classes that pregnant women shouldn't attend, even a video Derek had posted of her on a roller coaster just 3 weeks ago. But Maya was covering her tracks fast. Suddenly her social media was scrubbed clean of anything potentially incriminating, replaced with carefully curated pregnancy journey posts. The woman was actually Googling pregnancy symptoms and posting about them in real time. Tuesday, morning sickness is no joke. Nauseated face Wednesday, craving pickles and ice cream already faced with tears of joy Thursday, so tired I could sleep for days. #pregnancy life. It would have been impressive if it wasn't so infuriating. But Maya wasn't content to just maintain her lie, she was actively sabotaging my real pregnancy announcement. When Jake mentioned we were planning to tell his parents this weekend, she immediately suggested a double pregnancy celebration dinner where we could share the joy together. Isn't that sweet of her? Jake said over breakfast Friday morning. She wants to make sure you don't feel overshadowed since her news came first. I nearly choked on my prenatal vitamin. How thoughtful. She's really excited to have a pregnancy buddy. She keeps texting me questions about what you're experiencing, since you're further along. This stopped me cold. Further along? Yeah, well, you're almost 8 weeks and she's only 6, right? She wants to know what to expect. The math hit me like a slap. If I was 8 weeks along, that meant I'd conceived around the time of Jake's work retreat, the weekend Maya had been visiting us. The same weekend she'd helped me organize my mother-in-law's birthday party and insisted on handling all the special details. She'd known. Somehow, Maya had known I was pregnant before I did. That evening, my suspicion was confirmed in the worst possible way. I was cleaning out the guest bathroom when I found it, my pregnancy test from that weekend, the one I thought I'd thrown away. It was wrapped in toilet paper and shoved behind the extra towels, but the positive lines were still clearly visible. Maya had gone through my trash. She'd found my pregnancy test, figured out my announcement plan, and decided to beat me to it with a fake pregnancy. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped the test. This wasn't just petty attention-seeking anymore, this was calculated, deliberate cruelty. She had stolen my moment while knowing exactly what it meant to me, knowing about our fertility struggles, knowing this might be my only chance. I called in sick to work and spent the entire day planning my revenge. Maya wanted to play elaborate games? Fine. I would give her a performance she'd never forget. First, I created a fake social media account and started following all of Maya's friends, especially the ones who'd been commenting on her pregnancy posts. I needed to understand her audience. These were the people who would be at her inevitable baby shower, the stage where I'd expose her lies. Then I started my own elaborate deception. I began documenting my real pregnancy symptoms and attributing them to Maya in conversations with family members. Oh, Maya mentioned she's having terrible heartburn too. Maya said she's already having trouble sleeping on her stomach. I was feeding her information she could use to make her lie more convincing, while secretly documenting every symptom she claimed to have. When the time came to expose her, I'd have a detailed record of how she stole even my pregnancy experiences. But the final piece of my plan was the most devious. I started dropping hints about how special it was that our babies would be born so close together, casually mentioning specific due dates and pregnancy milestones that would lock Maya into an increasingly elaborate timeline. If she wanted to fake a pregnancy, I was going to make sure she faked it perfectly, right up until the moment it became impossible to maintain. The fake pregnancy buddy routine was getting more elaborate by the day, and Maya was digging herself deeper into a hole she couldn't escape. What she didn't realize was that I was carefully laying the groundwork for her downfall. Sarah, you're so lucky you're not getting the weird cravings yet, Maya said during our forced pregnancy bonding lunch on Tuesday. I woke up at 3 a.m. dying for chocolate-covered pickles. I smiled sweetly while internally rolling my eyes. She'd clearly Googled weird pregnancy cravings the night before. Oh, just wait until you hit 8 weeks. The food aversions are brutal. I can't even look at coffee anymore. Maya's eyes lit up as she mentally filed away this information. Sure enough, by Thursday she was posting on Instagram about how the smell of coffee made her run for the bathroom. But Maya wasn't just stealing my symptoms, she was stealing my entire support system. Suddenly, my mother-in-law was calling her every day to check on her morning sickness and offering to bring her ginger tea. My own mother was gushing about how wonderful it was that I'd have Maya to go through this journey together, as if I should be grateful for her company. The worst part was watching Jake get increasingly excited about being an uncle and a father simultaneously. He'd started a group chat called Baby Cousins 2024 with Derek and me, where Maya would drop daily updates about her symptoms and doctor appointments that I knew were completely fabricated. That's when I decided to test her commitment to the lie. Maya, I said during our family dinner on Sunday, we should totally sync up our OB appointments. It would be so fun to go together since we're due so close together. I watched her face carefully as she processed this suggestion. For just a moment, panic flashed in her eyes before she recovered with a bright smile. Oh, that's such a sweet idea. But you know, Derek and I are thinking of going with that new birthing center across town. More of a holistic approach. Perfect, I said, pulling out my phone. I'll look them up right now and we can call together. The color drained from Maya's face. Actually, they're not taking new patients right now. Super exclusive. There's a waiting list. Jake looked confused. But didn't you just say you had an appointment there next week? Maya's laugh was too high, too forced. Did I say appointment? I meant consultation. For the waiting list. To see if they might have openings in a few months. I nodded sympathetically while making a mental note. She was getting sloppy under pressure, and I was just getting started. The real test came when I suggested we throw Maya a surprise baby shower. It's her first pregnancy, I told my mother-in-law over coffee. She deserves something really special. I was thinking we could invite everyone, all her college friends, her coworkers, extended family. Make it a big celebration. My mother-in-law was thrilled with the idea, and within hours she was making calls and sending invitations. Maya, of course, couldn't object without looking ungrateful, even though I could see the panic in her eyes every time someone mentioned the shower. Because here's the thing about fake pregnancies, they have to end somewhere. And Maya had painted herself into a corner with a very specific timeline. By my calculations, she'd have to start showing within the next few weeks, and by the time of her baby shower in 6 weeks, she'd need to look convincingly pregnant. I was betting she'd crack under the pressure long before then. But if she didn't, I had a special surprise planned for her shower that would expose her lies in front of everyone she'd ever tried to impress. The countdown to Maya's destruction had officially begun. The baby shower planning became my full-time obsession, and Maya was clearly starting to panic. Every time someone mentioned guest lists or dates, she'd get this deer-in-headlights look before forcing another fake smile. But then she surprised me by doubling down in the most infuriating way possible. I have some exciting news, Maya announced at our weekly family dinner, placing her hand on her still flat stomach with theatrical flair. Derek and I just had our first ultrasound. My fork clattered against my plate. She was really going to fake an ultrasound? Oh honey, let's see the pictures, my mother-in-law squealed, practically bouncing in her seat. Maya's face fell slightly. Oh, we didn't get to keep any copies today. The machine was having technical difficulties, but we could hear the heartbeat perfectly. It was so magical. I watched Derek's face carefully. He looked genuinely confused, which confirmed my suspicion that he had no idea his wife was living in complete fantasy land. The poor guy probably thought they'd actually had an appointment. That's strange, I said innocently. My doctor always prints ultrasound photos, even when the machine is acting up. It's kind of their thing. Maya's smile tightened. Well, every practice is different. Dr. Williams said we'd get better pictures at our next appointment anyway. I made another mental note. Dr. Williams at the mysterious birthing center that may or may not exist. But Maya wasn't done with her performance. Over the next week, she started wearing progressively looser clothing and began this elaborate charade of holding her stomach and sighing whenever anyone was watching. She posted Instagram stories about feeling different and embracing the changes. The woman was actually trying to fake a pregnancy bump at 8 weeks, which any real pregnant woman would know is completely ridiculous. That's when Jake dropped a bomb that nearly derailed my entire revenge plan. Babe, I hate to ask this, but would you be okay if we moved our announcement dinner to next week instead? He said while we were getting ready for bed. Maya asked if we could wait just a little longer. What? Why? I tried to keep my voice level, but inside I was screaming. She's worried about, taking attention away from us if we announce too close together. She wants to make sure we each get our special moment. I stared at him in disbelief. Jake, she literally stole our moment at your mom's birthday party. That was different. That was spontaneous. She feels bad about it now and wants to make sure we get the spotlight we deserve. Maya wasn't feeling bad, she was buying herself time. Time to figure out how to maintain her lie or, more likely, time to plan some dramatic miscarriage that would get her sympathy instead of exposure. But I was done playing games on her timeline. Actually, you know what? Let's surprise everyone this weekend instead, I said, my mind racing with a new plan. Your mom's having that big family barbecue on Saturday. What if we just casually mention it then? Jake lit up. Really? You want to tell everyone? I'm tired of waiting. Besides, wouldn't it be fun to see Maya's reaction when she realizes she's going to have company in the pregnancy department? What I didn't tell Jake was that I'd already figured out Maya's endgame. She was planning to fake a miscarriage right before the baby shower. I'd overheard her Googling early pregnancy loss statistics on her phone during our last lunch. She probably thought she could milk the sympathy for months while avoiding the impossible task of maintaining her lie long term. But I wasn't going to let her control this narrative anymore. It was time to force her hand and watch her scramble to keep up with a real pregnancy announcement while maintaining her elaborate fiction. Saturday couldn't come fast enough. Maya had no idea that her carefully constructed house of lies was about to come crashing down around her. The Saturday barbecue arrived with perfect weather and maximum chaos potential. I'd spent the morning practicing my announcement in the mirror, clutching my real ultrasound photo like a weapon. Today, Maya would have to react to my genuine pregnancy news while maintaining her elaborate fiction, and I was going to watch every micro-expression on her lying face. But Maya was ready for war too. She showed up wearing an empire waist dress that created the illusion of a tiny bump, her hand constantly resting on her stomach in a way that screamed, "Look at me, I'm pregnant." She'd even done something with contouring makeup that made her face look slightly fuller. The woman had clearly spent hours researching how to fake early pregnancy symptoms. "Sarah," she gushed, pulling me into an overly dramatic hug. "How are you feeling, honey? You look a little pale. Morning sickness hitting hard?" The audacity was breathtaking. She was fishing for symptoms she could steal while simultaneously trying to make me look sick in front of the family. "Actually, I'm feeling amazing today," I said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "In fact, Jake and I have some news to share." Maya's face went completely white beneath her carefully applied makeup. "News?" Before she could derail my moment again, I grabbed Jake's hand and called out to the family scattered across the backyard. "Everyone. Could you gather around for a second? We have something exciting to tell you." I watched Maya's internal panic as people started congregating around us. She was trapped. She couldn't steal my thunder again without looking completely insane, but she also couldn't let me have this moment without somehow making it about her. "We're pregnant," Jake announced, his arm wrapped around my waist as I held up our ultrasound photo. The reaction was everything I'd dreamed of the first time. Cheers, tears, hugs, and genuine excitement from everyone who'd been rooting for us through our fertility struggles. But I kept my eyes locked on Maya, watching her struggle to arrange her features into an appropriate expression. "Oh my god," she finally managed, her voice shrill with forced enthusiasm. "This is incredible. We're going to be pregnant together." She rushed over to hug me, and I felt her trembling slightly. Up close, I could see sweat beading at her hairline despite the mild weather. "Maya, this is so perfect," my mother-in-law exclaimed. "Both my babies having babies at the same time. How far along are you, Sarah?" 8 weeks, I said clearly, watching Maya's face. "Due in March." Maya's laugh sounded like glass breaking. "What are the odds? We're practically on the exact same timeline." But my mother-in-law was frowning, doing mental math. "Wait, that means you conceived around Jake's work retreat weekend. Maya, didn't you visit that same weekend? You were here when?" Her eyes widened with realization. "Oh my goodness, did you both find out you were pregnant in my house?" This was the question Maya couldn't answer without admitting she'd known about my pregnancy before announcing her own. I watched her mouth open and close like a fish as she scrambled for an explanation. Actually, she said slowly, I think I might be a little further along than I initially thought. Maybe 9 weeks? 10? It's hard to tell exactly. Derek looked confused. But didn't the doctor say 6 weeks at your appointment? Maya shot him a look that could have killed. Doctors adjust dates all the time as they get more information. I smiled sweetly while filing away this new inconsistency in her story. She was now claiming to be further along than me, which meant her showing timeline had just accelerated dramatically. In a few weeks, she'd need to look noticeably more pregnant than me. The pressure was building, and Maya was starting to crack. The complications started piling up faster than Maya could handle them. Within days of my announcement, she was posting ultrasound photos that she'd clearly stolen from Google Images. I reverse searched them and found the exact same pictures on a pregnancy blog from 2019. But the real chaos began when my mother-in-law decided to throw us a joint baby shower. It'll be so much more fun with both of you, she gushed over the phone. We can do a shared theme, maybe double the joy or cousin babies. I'm thinking the country club, really go all out. I could practically hear Maya hyperventilating in the background as Derek relayed the conversation to her. A joint shower meant side-by-side scrutiny, shared timelines, and dozens of witnesses to compare our pregnancies in real time. That's such a generous offer, I said sweetly, but I wouldn't want to impose on Maya's special day. She's been planning her shower for weeks. Which was a complete lie. I'd been the one planning her shower as part of my revenge plot. But now I was curious to see how she'd handle this new pressure. The next morning, Maya called me directly for the first time since this whole mess started. Sarah, we need to talk, she said, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. About this joint shower thing. Of course. I'm so excited we get to celebrate together. Right. Excited. Maya paused, and I could almost hear her brain working overtime. Listen, I've been thinking. Maybe we should space things out a little? Give each baby their own special moment? But your mom-in-law is so excited about the joint celebration. And honestly, Maya, with our due dates being so close together, it makes perfect sense. About that, Maya said quickly. I had another ultrasound yesterday, and it turns out I'm actually due in February, not March. Much earlier than we thought. My eyebrows shot up. She was now claiming to be 3 months pregnant, which would make her deception exponentially harder to maintain. At 12 weeks, she'd need to show a real bump, have visible symptoms, and convince Derek that they'd somehow missed 2 months of pregnancy. Wow, February. That means you're almost at the end of your first trimester. You must be starting to show by now. Oh, a little. Just barely. I'm still wearing my regular clothes mostly. That's so funny. I was just reading that most women are in maternity clothes by 12 weeks, especially with their first pregnancy. The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Sarah, Maya finally said, and her voice had changed completely. Gone was the fake sweetness, replaced by something cold and desperate. I know what you're doing. I'm sorry, what? The questions, the timeline comments, pushing for joint everything. You're trying to trip me up. My heart started pounding, but I kept my voice innocent. Maya, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm just excited about our babies. Right. Our babies. She laughed bitterly. You know what I think? I think you're jealous that I announced first. I think you can't stand that I'm handling pregnancy better than you are. The accusation was so backwards, so completely insane, that I actually laughed out loud. You think you're handling pregnancy better than me? I'm not the one obsessing over every detail and trying to control everyone else's timeline. Maybe you should focus on your own pregnancy instead of micromanaging mine. Before I could respond, she hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, realizing that Maya had just declared war. She wasn't going to quietly fade away or fake a convenient miscarriage. She was doubling down, digging in, and apparently planning to take this fake pregnancy all the way to its impossible conclusion. But she'd also just handed me the perfect weapon. If Maya wanted to claim she was 12 weeks pregnant, I was going to hold her to every single symptom, milestone, and physical change that came with that timeline. The joint baby shower was going to be very interesting indeed. The joint baby shower planning became Maya's personal nightmare, and I had a front row seat to watch her unravel. My mother-in-law went into full party planning mode, creating shared Pinterest boards, group chats, and spreadsheets that tracked every detail. Worst of all for Maya, she insisted on coordinating our pregnancy milestones for the shower games. I thought we could do a timeline display, she announced during our planning meeting at her kitchen table. Photos of both of you throughout your pregnancies, showing how you've grown together. Maya, you're what, 14 weeks now? You must have some lovely bump photos. Maya's coffee mug trembled in her hands. Oh, I'm not really one for photos. I prefer to keep things private. Nonsense. This is your first baby, you have to document everything. My mother-in-law was already pulling up pregnancy photo ideas on her tablet. Sarah, you're 12 weeks now, right? You two must be showing so differently at this point. I placed my hand on my barely there bump. At 12 weeks, it was more bloating than baby, but it was real. Just starting to show. Maya's probably much more obvious since she's further along. All eyes turned to Maya, who was wearing the loosest sweater known to mankind. She shifted uncomfortably under the scrutiny. Everyone carries differently. I'm more compact. But the real torture began when my mother-in-law suggested we synchronize our doctor appointments. My friend Linda says pregnant women love having appointment buddies. Maya, what practice are you using again? Maybe Sarah could transfer, it would be so fun to share the same OB. Maya's face went through several color changes. That's not really how it works. My doctor doesn't take transfers. What's the practice name? I could call and ask. Dr. Williams doesn't, it's complicated. Maya was practically swarming now. Very exclusive. Boutique practice. I pulled out my phone with fake helpfulness. What's the full name? I'll look them up online. Maybe they have a waiting list. You know what? Maya stood abruptly, knocking over her chair. I should probably get going. Prenatal yoga class. My mother-in-law's face lit up. Oh, Sarah, you should join her. Exercise buddies too. The look Maya shot me was pure panic mixed with hatred. It's a very advanced class. Very specific breathing techniques. Sarah probably isn't ready for that level of intensity. After Maya fled, my mother-in-law turned to me with concern. Is it just me, or has Maya been acting strange lately? She seems so anxious about everything baby-related. I played dumb while internally celebrating. Maybe she's just overwhelmed? First pregnancy and all. But Maya's problems were multiplying faster than she could solve them. Derek, bless his oblivious heart, had started asking questions that Maya couldn't answer. Babe, when exactly is your next appointment? I overheard him asking during a family dinner. I want to make sure I can get off work to come with you. Maya froze mid-chew. Oh, they're really flexible with scheduling. I'll let you know. But don't you have to do that glucose test soon? Sarah was just talking about hers coming up. I jumped in helpfully. Actually, that's usually around 24 to 28 weeks. Maya's only 14 weeks, so she has a while still. Derek looked confused. I thought you were further along than Sarah? Maya's laugh was becoming increasingly unhinged. Pregnancy brain. I meant I'm catching up to her. The timelines are fluid. But the final straw came when my mother-in-law announced she'd booked us a joint maternity photo session as a shower surprise. Professional photographer, beautiful outdoor location, matching dresses to show off your bumps, she announced proudly. It's scheduled for next weekend. I wanted to capture you both before you get too big to be comfortable. Maya went completely silent. A maternity photo shoot would require her to look convincingly pregnant next to my genuinely growing body. There was no loose sweater in the world that could save her now. That's so thoughtful, Maya finally managed. But I'm not really comfortable with photos right now. Body image issues, you know? Oh honey, you're glowing. Besides, these will be treasured family photos. Your babies will love seeing how beautiful their mommies looked while carrying them. I watched Maya's face crumble as the full weight of her impossible situation hit her. She painted herself into a corner with no escape route, and the joint baby shower, now just 3 weeks away, was going to expose every single lie she told. The countdown to her destruction was accelerating, and Maya was finally realizing she was completely trapped. The maternity photo session became Maya's breaking point. The night before our scheduled shoot, she showed up at my house unannounced, looking like she hadn't slept in days. We need to talk, she said, pushing past Jake before I could even invite her in. Her hair was disheveled, her makeup smudged, and she kept wringing her hands like she was trying to wash off invisible dirt. Jake looked between us, confused. Maya? Everything okay? Where's Derek? He thinks I'm at prenatal yoga. Maya's voice cracked slightly. Sarah, please. Can we talk privately? Part of me wanted to refuse, to make her squirm in front of Jake, but I was too curious about what desperate move she was planning now. I led her to the kitchen and closed the door. I can't do the photo shoot, she said immediately, her voice barely above a whisper. Why not? You look great for 14 weeks. I kept my tone innocent while watching her flinch at the timeline she'd created for herself. Stop. Just stop with the games, okay? Maya slumped against my counter, looking defeated. I know you know. My heart started racing, but I played dumb. Know what? That I'm not. She couldn't even say the words. That I lied. For a moment, I felt a flicker of sympathy. She looked genuinely broken, terrified, like a cornered animal. But then I remembered the smirk on her face at the birthday party, the way she'd stolen my moment after finding my pregnancy test, and the sympathy evaporated. I have no idea what you're talking about, Maya. Yes, you do. You've been setting traps for weeks. The joint appointments, the timeline questions, pushing for everything to be together so you can watch me fail. Her voice was getting higher, more frantic. I know you found the pregnancy test. I raised an eyebrow. What pregnancy test? Your. Maya stopped, realizing she'd just admitted to going through my trash. Look, I made a mistake, okay? I got caught up in the moment and said something I shouldn't have. You announced a fake pregnancy at a family party? It wasn't supposed to go this far. I thought I could just figure it out later. Maybe Derek and I would actually get pregnant, or I could say I lost it early. But then you announced yours and everyone was so excited about us being pregnant together and I couldn't take it back. The confession should have felt like victory, but watching Maya fall apart was somehow less satisfying than I'd imagined. Still, I wasn't about to let her off the hook. So what exactly are you asking me to do? Help me. The desperation in her voice was painful to hear. Help me get out of this without destroying my marriage and humiliating myself in front of everyone. How exactly would I do that? I don't know. Fake an emergency tomorrow so we have to cancel the photos? Tell your mother-in-law I'm having complications and need to keep things private? Anything to buy me time to figure out how to end this. I pretended to consider her request while internally marveling at the audacity. She wanted me to become an accomplice in covering up the lie that had devastated me. Maya, I'm confused. If you're really pregnant like you've been telling everyone, why would you need my help with anything? Her face crumpled completely. Because I'm not, okay? I'm not pregnant. I've never been pregnant. I found your test and I was jealous and angry and I made a stupid, impulsive decision that spiraled completely out of control. There it was. The full confession I'd been working toward for weeks. But instead of the satisfaction I expected to feel, all I could think about was how many people she was going to hurt when this inevitably exploded. Especially Derek, who had no idea his wife was living in complete fantasy land. Please, Sarah. I'm begging you. Maya's voice broke completely, tears streaming down her face. I know I don't deserve your help, but I'm desperate. Derek's been talking about converting the spare room into a nursery. His mom is planning to fly in from Portland for the shower. I've created this massive web of lies and I don't know how to get out without destroying everything. I stared at her, genuinely torn. Part of me wanted to watch her burn for what she'd done to me. But seeing her completely broken like this, knowing that Derek and both our families were going to be caught in the crossfire when this exploded. What exactly did you think was going to happen, Maya? That you just fake being pregnant for 9 months? I don't know. I thought maybe Derek and I would actually get pregnant and I could adjust the timeline. Or I'd miscarry early and get sympathy instead of judgment. I never planned for you to announce right after me, or for your mom to plan joint everything, or for this to get so complicated. Before I could respond, Jake's voice came through the kitchen door. Everything okay in there? Maya, Derek's been calling your phone. Maya's face went white. What? Why? He said you never came home from yoga and he's worried. Your class ended 2 hours ago. I watched Maya's latest lie crumble in real time. She told Derek she was at prenatal yoga, but she'd been sitting in my kitchen confessing her fake pregnancy for the past hour. I stopped for dinner after class, Maya called back weakly, but her voice was shaking. He already called the yoga studio. Maya, they said you haven't been to a class in months. The silence that followed was deafening. I could practically hear Maya's world imploding as she realized Derek was already questioning her stories. Sarah, she whispered, grabbing my arm. Please. I'll do anything. I'll confess everything, but help me do it in a way that doesn't destroy my marriage. But it was too late for damage control. Jake opened the kitchen door, phone in hand, looking confused and concerned. Maya, Derek's really worried. He said the yoga studio has no record of you being enrolled in any prenatal classes. He's starting to think something's wrong with the baby. Maya made a sound like a wounded animal. The irony was devastating. Derek was worried about a baby that didn't exist because of lies Maya had told to support a pregnancy that was completely fake. There's no baby, Maya whispered so quietly I almost didn't hear her. What? Jake stepped into the kitchen, closing the door behind him. I said there's no baby. Maya's voice rose to a near shriek. I'm not pregnant. I've never been pregnant. I made the whole thing up because I found Sarah's pregnancy test and I was jealous and I wanted attention and now Derek's going to leave me and everyone's going to hate me and I don't know what to do. Jake stared at her in complete shock, then looked at me. Did you know about this? Before I could answer, Maya laughed hysterically. Of course she knew. She's been torturing me for weeks, setting traps, asking questions she knew I couldn't answer. She's been playing with me like a cat with a mouse, waiting for me to confess or break down. Jake's expression shifted as he processed this information. Sarah? Is that true? I felt my own carefully laid plan starting to unravel. Maya's public breakdown wasn't supposed to happen in my kitchen with just Jake as a witness. This was supposed to be a spectacular exposure at her baby shower, with maximum audience and maximum humiliation. But now Jake was looking at me like he didn't recognize me, and Maya was having a complete emotional breakdown, and Derek was somewhere across town panicking about his fake pregnant wife. The revenge I'd been planning so carefully was spinning completely out of control. Looking at Jake's horrified expression, I realized my carefully orchestrated revenge had just exploded in my face in the worst possible way. Instead of Maya being exposed at her baby shower in front of dozens of people, she was having a breakdown in my kitchen while my husband looked at me like I was a stranger. Sarah, answer me, Jake said, his voice cold in a way I'd never heard before. Did you know Maya was lying about being pregnant? Maya was sobbing now, mascara streaming down her face. She's been setting me up for weeks. The joint appointments, the photo shoots, asking about symptoms she knew I couldn't have. She wanted me to suffer. I suspected, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. But I wasn't sure until. You suspected? Jake's eyes widened. And instead of talking to me, or talking to Derek, you decided to, what? Play detective? Set up elaborate traps? Jake, you don't understand what she did to me. She went through our trash, found my pregnancy test, and then stole our announcement. Our moment. The one we'd been waiting 2 years for. So your solution was to let my brother plan a nursery for a baby that doesn't exist? Jake's voice was rising now. To let my parents get excited about a grandchild that's never coming? To watch Derek worry about prenatal vitamins and birthing classes while you knew his wife was living a complete lie. Maya looked up from her hands, hope flickering in her eyes. You see? She's been torturing everyone, not just me. This is her fault for not stopping it sooner. Don't. I turned on Maya with fury I didn't know I possessed. Don't you dare try to make me the villain here. You created this mess when you decided to fake a pregnancy for attention. You involved Derek, both our families, you made your husband worry about your fake symptoms and plan for a fake future. But you could have stopped it. Maya screamed back. You knew I was lying and you let it continue because you wanted to humiliate me. Jake held up his hands, looking overwhelmed. Stop, both of you. Just stop. He ran his fingers through his hair, a habit I knew meant he was trying to process something too big to handle. Maya, Derek is at home right now panicking about you and the baby. You need to go home and tell him the truth. Tonight. I can't. He'll leave me. He might leave you anyway when he finds out how long you've been lying. But if you keep this going, if he finds out some other way, it'll be 10 times worse. Maya's phone buzzed with another text, and she glanced at it with terror. He's asking if I need him to call the doctor. He thinks something's wrong with the baby because I'm not answering his calls. The weight of what she'd done seemed to hit her again, and she doubled over like she was in physical pain. Oh God, what have I done? What am I going to tell him? The truth, Jake said firmly. You tell him you made a mistake, you got caught up in competition with Sarah, and you're sorry. You figure out how to fix this with your marriage, and you help us figure out how to tell our families that one of these pregnancies was fake. Competition? I stared at Jake in disbelief. Is that what you think this was? Some kind of rivalry between me and Maya? I don't know what to think anymore, Sarah. I feel like I don't know either of you right now. Maya's phone rang, Derek's name flashing on the screen. We all stared at it like it was a bomb about to explode. Because in a way, it was. Once Maya answered that call and told Derek the truth, there would be no containing this disaster. The joint baby shower, the family expectations, the excitement and plans and dreams that had been built around Maya's lie, it was all about to come crashing down, and I was beginning to realize that my revenge might have hurt innocent people more than it hurt Maya. The phone kept ringing, and Maya looked at both of us with pure terror in her eyes. What do I say? Maya stared at Derek's name on her phone screen like it was a death sentence. The ringing seemed to echo through my kitchen, each tone ratcheting up the tension until I felt like I might scream. Answer it, Jake said firmly. You can't keep avoiding him. What am I supposed to say? Maya's voice cracked. Hi honey, remember that baby we've been planning our whole future around? Well, funny story. The call went to voicemail, but immediately started ringing again. Derek wasn't giving up. Maya. Jake's voice had that stern big brother tone that meant business. Answer the phone and tell him you're coming home. That you need to talk. Don't say anything else until you're face to face. With shaking hands, Maya accepted the call. Hi Derek, she whispered. Maya. Thank God, I've been worried sick. Where are you? The yoga place said. I'm at Sarah and Jake's. I'm fine. I'm coming home now. Is everything okay with the baby? You've been acting so strange lately, and when I couldn't reach you. I watched Maya's face crumple as Derek's genuine concern hit her. Everything's, we need to talk when I get home. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Maya, you're scaring me. Is something wrong? Should I call the doctor? No. No doctors. Just. I'll explain everything when I get home. I love you. She hung up before he could respond, then immediately burst into fresh tears. He's going to hate me. He's going to think I'm insane. Maybe, Jake said bluntly. But he's going to hate you more if he finds out from someone else. Or if you keep lying and he figures it out himself. Maya stood up unsteadily, grabbing her purse. What about the baby shower? What about your parents? They've been so excited, they're flying Derek's mom in from Portland, they've already sent invitations to like 50 people. My stomach dropped as the full scope of this disaster hit me. In my obsession with exposing Maya, I'd lost sight of all the innocent people who were going to be devastated by this revelation. We'll figure that out later, Jake said. First, you need to deal with your husband. After Maya left, Jake and I stood in our kitchen in deafening silence. The house felt different somehow, like the foundation had shifted when I wasn't paying attention. So, Jake finally said, his voice carefully neutral. How long have you known? I suspected from the beginning, but I had proof for about 2 weeks. The admission felt like confessing to a crime. 2 weeks. He sat down heavily at the kitchen table. 2 weeks you've been watching my brother get excited about becoming a father, knowing it was all a lie. Jake, I was trying to protect. Protect who? Derek? My parents? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you were more interested in revenge than protection. The accusation stung because it was true. She stole our moment. She went through our trash, found my pregnancy test, and deliberately upstaged our announcement. After everything we'd been through, all the failed attempts and negative tests, she took away the one moment I'd been dreaming about for 2 years. I get that. I do. What she did was awful. Jake's voice softened slightly. But Sarah, Derek is innocent in this. He's been reading parenting books, researching cribs, calling his mom to share ultrasound photos that don't exist. He's been worried sick about Maya's morning sickness and asking me for advice about being a good dad. The guilt hit me like a physical blow. In my focus on punishing Maya, I'd completely overlooked Derek's pain in all this. He was going to be devastated, not just by Maya's lies, but by the loss of a baby he thought was real. And my parents, Jake continued. They've been knitting baby blankets, planning visits, telling all their friends about becoming grandparents to cousins born so close together. They're going to be heartbroken. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother-in-law, just confirmed the venue for the shower. This is going to be such a magical celebration for both my girls. I can't wait to spoil those babies. I showed Jake the message, and he closed his eyes like he was in physical pain. This is going to destroy them, he said quietly. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and a string of increasingly frantic texts. My first thought was that Maya had told Derek everything and the fallout had begun. But when I checked my phone, my blood ran cold. The messages weren't from Derek. They were from Maya. Sarah, Derek's not here. He left early for work without saying goodbye. He's not answering my calls. I think he knows something. He was acting weird all night. His laptop history shows he's been Googling fake pregnancy symptoms. Sarah, please call me. My hands were shaking as I called her back. She answered on the first ring. Thank God, Maya's voice was hoarse, like she'd been crying all night. Sarah, I think Derek figured it out on his own. What do you mean figured it out? Did you tell him? I tried to. But when I got home, he was acting so strange. He kept asking specific questions about my doctor appointments, wanting to see my prenatal vitamins, asking about symptoms I mentioned weeks ago that I couldn't remember lying about. I sat up in bed, my stomach churning. Maya, what exactly did you tell him? Nothing. That's the problem. He was asking stuff like, remember when you said the doctor was concerned about your iron levels? What did she recommend? And I had no idea what he was talking about because I make up so much stuff I can't keep track. The disaster was spiraling beyond anything I'd imagined. Derek wasn't just an innocent victim anymore, he was actively investigating his wife's lies. Then he started asking about the ultrasound pictures, Maya continued, her voice getting higher. He wanted to see them again, said he wanted to frame one for his office. But Sarah, I downloaded those pictures from Google. What if he reverse searches them? My pregnancy brain tried to process the implications. If Derek exposed Maya's fake pregnancy on his own, it would look like I'd been protecting her by keeping quiet. But if he'd already figured it out, why hadn't he confronted her? Maya, where did Derek say he was going this morning? Work, but... Maya's voice broke. He never leaves for work at 6 a.m. And he took his gym bag, which he only does when he's planning to stay out late or not come home. Before I could respond, Jake's phone rang downstairs. Through our bedroom door, I could hear him answering with confusion. Derek? Dude, it's barely 7 in the morning. What? Slow down, I can't understand you. My heart stopped. Derek was calling Jake. I crept to the top of the stairs, straining to hear Jake's side of the conversation. She said what to who? Derek, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, Maya's been acting weird, but pregnant women are. Wait, what photos? There was a long pause, then Jake's voice changed completely. Derek, I think you need to come over here. Right now. Don't go home, don't call Maya, just come here. Because we need to talk about Maya's pregnancy. I ran back to the bedroom and called Maya. Derek's coming here. He knows something. What? No, no, no. Sarah, you can't tell him anything. Please, I just need more time to figure out how to. Maya, he already knows. He called Jake asking about your pregnancy photos. It's over. But if I could just explain it to him myself, in private, maybe. Derek's not stupid. I snapped, my own panic finally breaking through. You think he hasn't noticed that you've never had morning sickness, never had a real doctor's appointment, never actually looked pregnant? You think he hasn't been wondering why his wife suddenly developed pregnancy symptoms that disappeared the second you walked in the door? Maya was sobbing now. Sarah, please. I'll disappear. I'll say I had a miscarriage. I'll tell everyone it happened this morning and Derek's too upset to talk about it. The audacity was breathtaking. Even now, facing complete exposure, she was still trying to manipulate the situation. A miscarriage? Maya, Derek would want to go to the hospital. He'd want to talk to doctors, understand what happened. You'd have to fake medical records, fake. Then help me fake them. You work in medical billing, you know how. Absolutely not. The line I wouldn't cross had finally appeared. Maya, I won't help you lie to Derek anymore. This ends today. But as I hung up and heard Jake talking to Derek downstairs, I realized the ending I'd orchestrated was about to become everyone's nightmare. Derek arrived looking like he hadn't slept in days. His usually neat hair was disheveled, his work clothes wrinkled, and there were dark circles under his eyes that made him look 10 years older. When Jake let him in, I could see Derek's hands shaking as he clutched a manila folder against his chest. Where's Maya, were his first words. At home, I think, Jake said carefully. Derek, what's going on? Derek laughed, but it was a broken sound that made my skin crawl. What's going on? What's going on is that my wife has been lying to me for months, and apparently everyone knew but me. He dropped heavily onto our couch and opened the folder, spreading papers across the coffee table. My heart sank as I saw what he'd compiled, printed screenshots of Maya's social media posts from before her pregnancy, pharmacy receipts showing no prenatal vitamins, even a printout of our local birthing center's website. The Harmony Birth Center, Derek said, pointing at the webpage. That's where Maya said she's been getting prenatal care. Guess what? They've been closed for renovation since January. Completely shut down. Jake sat down across from him, his face pale. Derek. Oh, it gets better. Derek's voice was getting sharper, more bitter. Those ultrasound pictures she's been showing everyone? I reverse searched them last night. They're from a mommy blog from 3 years ago. The woman who actually had those ultrasounds lives in Michigan. I felt sick watching Derek systematically dismantle Maya's lies. This wasn't the dramatic public exposure I'd planned, this was a man having his heart broken in real time. But you want to know the really sick part? Derek continued, his voice cracking. I've been taking overtime shifts to save up for the nursery. I've been researching the best pediatricians, reading books about supporting your partner through pregnancy. Last week I bought a fucking crib. Derek, I'm so sorry, I started, but he cut me off. Are you? Are you really sorry, Sarah? His eyes were blazing now. Because Maya seems to think you've known the truth for weeks. She seems to think you've been torturing her with questions and joint appointments. The accusation hung in the air like a poison cloud. Jake was staring at me, waiting for my answer. I suspected, I admitted quietly. You suspected? Derek nodded slowly. And while you were suspecting, I was at work bragging to my coworkers about becoming a dad. While you were playing detective, I was calling my mom to tell her she was getting another grandchild. He pulled out his phone and showed us a text thread with his mother. Pages of excited messages about baby names, nursery themes, and flight arrangements for the shower. The timestamp showed their last conversation was from 11 p.m. the night before. She's been texting me all night about the shower planning. Apparently she's already bought plane tickets. Derek's laugh was becoming more unhinged. She's so excited to meet her first grandchild that she's been knitting blankets for 2 months straight. Jake reached for Derek's shoulder, but Derek pulled away. Don't. Just don't. Derek started shoving papers back into his folder. I need to know everything. Every lie Maya told, every question Sarah asked that should have been a red flag, every moment someone could have stopped this before my mom spent her retirement money on plane tickets for a fake baby shower. Before either of us could respond, Derek's phone rang. Maya's name flashed on the screen. Should I answer it? Derek asked, but his finger was already moving toward the decline button. What's she going to tell me now? That she's having complications? That she needs to go to the hospital for the baby that doesn't exist? The phone stopped ringing, then immediately started again. Derek stared at it with an expression I'd never seen before, like he was looking at a stranger's name instead of his wife's. Derek's phone kept ringing, Maya's name lighting up the screen over and over like a desperate plea. Finally, he answered. What, Maya? His voice was flat, emotionless. Derek, please come home. I can explain everything. It's not what you think. It's not what I think. Derek's composure finally cracked. So you are pregnant? The Harmony Birth Center isn't closed for renovation? Those ultrasound photos aren't stolen from some stranger's blog? The silence on the other end was deafening. That's what I thought. Derek hung up and turned to face me squarely. Sarah, I need you to tell me exactly what you knew and when you knew it. No more games, no more protecting Maya. My marriage is over, the least you can do is help me understand how long I've been living a lie. The weight of everything crashed down on me at once. Looking at Derek's devastated face, at Jake's disappointed expression, I realized my revenge had accomplished nothing except maximizing the pain for everyone involved. I found evidence she was lying about 3 weeks ago, I confessed. Photos of her drinking while supposedly pregnant, inconsistencies in her timeline, the fact that her doctor's office doesn't exist. Derek nodded like he was checking items off a list. 3 weeks. So while I was researching cribs, you knew my baby didn't exist. Derek, I wanted to tell you, but I didn't know how. Bullshit. Derek's voice was ice cold. You wanted to watch her burn. You wanted maximum humiliation at the baby shower, didn't you? You wanted her to suffer in front of as many people as possible. He was right, and we all knew it. But you know what the real irony is? Derek continued. Maya's not the only one who's going to be humiliated. I get to call my mom and tell her the grandchild she's been knitting for doesn't exist. I get to explain to my coworkers why I won't need paternity leave after all. I get to cancel the crib I put on layaway and return the pregnancy books I bought. Jake finally spoke up. Derek, what can we do? How can we help fix this? You want to help? Derek laughed bitterly. Help me figure out what to tell 50 people who've already RSVP'd to a baby shower for a fake pregnancy. Help me decide whether to try counseling with a wife who's been lying to my face for months, or just cut my losses and file for divorce. His phone buzzed with a text, and he glanced at it with disgust. Maya's asking if I want her to pack a bag, like this is all some big misunderstanding that'll blow over if she gives me space. Derek stood up, gathering his folder of evidence. You know what's funny? I actually started suspecting weeks ago. The way she could never remember details about doctor appointments, how her symptoms seemed to change based on whatever pregnancy website she'd been reading that day. But I convinced myself I was being paranoid. What kind of person fakes a pregnancy? At the door, Derek turned back to us one final time. Sarah, I hope your revenge was worth it. Because while you were orchestrating Maya's downfall, you forgot that real people were going to get crushed in the wreckage. After Derek left, Jake and I sat in silence for a long time. So, Jake finally said, I guess we get to make our pregnancy announcement to both our families as part of explaining why Maya's baby doesn't exist. The irony was brutal. The moment I'd waited 2 years for was going to be forever tainted by Maya's lies and my own vindictive choices. Jake, I'm sorry. I never meant for Derek to get hurt like this. I know you didn't. But Sarah, when did we become the kind of people who let innocent people suffer for our revenge? I didn't have an answer. But looking at the ultrasound photo on our refrigerator, the real one, with our real baby, I realized that Maya had already stolen enough from us. I wasn't going to let her lies poison our joy anymore. Our baby deserved better than being born into a family divided by deception and revenge. It was time to focus on our own happiness and let Maya face the consequences of her choices alone.